Um, you know, I think the session is recording, so we'll begin. Um, so hi everyone, good evening. It is lovely to have you all here, and we are very excited on behalf of ISB to be discussing the Healthcare Club and the healthcare in general, what we do at ISB and the healthcare opportunities that ISBNs have. And we have with us a very distinguished panel today. We have Mr. Vishwadeep Goyal, who is who's from Fortis, and we have with us Dr. Richa, who is a practicing doctor and also, a marketing professional. And we have with us Santosh, who's into diagnostics. Um, Before I hand it over to the distinguished alumni to speak about their experiences and introduce themselves, let me just begin with telling you this. ISB really cherishes its alumni, and then we have very strong connect to it. And 10 years out, if you're having our alumni here speaking about ISB and healthcare so passionately about it, it really speaks to what it really means to them. Um, with it being said, I would pass it on to Vishwadeep to briefly introduce himself.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Neil, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and so once an alum, always an alum, as I was just telling Neil also. So brief about myself. So I'm Dr. Vishwadeep Goyal. I'm currently working as the Zonal Director for Fortis Hospitals. Uh, Before coming to ISB, I'm from the class of 2013, so it's almost 10 years since I was there in ISB. So before coming to ISB, I was working in the public health sector. So I was working in government of Haryana, where I was kind of heading the RSPY scheme, which is a cashless health insurance scheme, the precursor of the current Ayushman Bharat scheme that we have. So I was a practicing doctor at that time. Along with that, I was handling that scheme for the state of Haryana. And so from there, I took this leap to move to ISB. And then 1 year at ISB, they all say it is the best year of your life. And I really had that best year of life. And use that, I moved into the corporate sector. So, and have worked with most of the corporate hospital chains in India, including Max, Apollo, Shalby, Manipal hospitals, and now with Fortis. So that's very briefly about me. Thank you.
Dr. Richard, can you kindly go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Dr. Richa Chaturvedi. I am currently working with Pfizer in emerging market Asia in marketing. And so I started my journey as medical advisor. And after, seeing the kind of, work that our marketing and sales team do, I was interested to, try my hands-on experience in this field. And that was the time when I decided to pursue MBA. And I gave my GMAT, gave my entrance test, etc. And then, as mentioned recently, I also had an amazing time at ISB. And post ISB, the learning has been even more steep. I believe that once you are in the industry, once you are in the working, you actually learn and do a lot of things which are beyond your classrooms. But I'm really enjoying the experience, and I'm sure that we do have a lot to learn from each other in today. So I welcome all the aspiring students over here. Thank you.
Thanks, Richa. Santosh, can you kindly go ahead?
Yeah, thanks everyone for having me here. So I'm Santosh Manda. I'm an alumni of class of 2014, almost 10 years now. Unlike the other two distinguished panelists, I was not from a healthcare background, and I also don't have a formal education in anything related to healthcare. So an engineer by education, by profession before coming to ISB, and post ISB also I was into a tech sector, was working with Microsoft till 2017, and that's probably when I decided to do something of my own, especially in the healthcare space, and that was my foray into the healthcare segment. And so from 2017 onwards, a company called Plusp in Healthcare, which is primarily into using technology to bring healthcare services to the doorsteps and to the fingertips of multiple for Indians, especially the middle class Indians, I would say. And I'll probably talk about how I benefited more through ISB in terms of connecting with the various healthcare professionals who come into ISB in different forums and settings as we go into the session. So that's pretty much about me.
Thanks, Santosh. Thanks for giving us that brief introduction. So, participants, we already have a set of questions that have come from different people who have shown interest in this particular roundtable discussion. But if you still have any further questions, kindly go ahead and type those questions out, and then we will take them as time, if as and if the time permits. And with it being said, we have different sets of questions. We have some which are very healthcare related, some ISB related in general, some which are profile related, and some admissions related. But we would be doing a good mix of these questions so that we cover broadly the different questions on the aspirants' minds. With it being said, let's jump into the first question here, team. So probably, Richard, this is going to be directed at you. And then I would love to hear the views of Santosh and Vishwadeep too on this. So this is something that I'm sure a lot of people from the healthcare background, pre-ISB, have in their minds, and especially the doctors. So yeah, after MBBS, why an MBA? When at ISB, did you feel that your peers from IITs, etc., were ahead of you because of their experience with math? So please share your opinion on that.
I think this is the most relevant questions that a doctor should have. So why MBA after MBBS? So depends whether you want to come to the industry as an marketeer or commercial colleague, or whether you just want to be a doctor with more knowledge of how the business works, because both things are very important. In today's time, I believe in India, doctors are not that well equipped, the ones who are passing out of the medical colleges, to understand how hospitals work. A lot of time they do get overwhelmed also about the responsibilities that hospital administration gives them. Then why should I do other than just treating a patient? Why should I do XYZ things also? So I believe that's very important for them to understand the business side of it as well, whether they are working for their own clinic or whether they are working in a corporate. So that is one thing. Another thing is it widens their horizon. They can not only treat the patient, but they can be active part in the management as well, which increases their stakes higher, can also put them on a path to success in this field as well. Now coming to whether not having the experience with math, etc., does matter. I believe it does, especially the initial term 1 and term 2, when you get your finance and other subjects. You kind of feel a little left out, but ultimately everything is not about grades. And I believe we should realize that finance is such an important part that we are lucky actually that we get to understand and read that in ISB, in MBA. So that's something that I would like to say, that don't fear from it. Actually, just think that this is something that I did not know so far. This is my opportunity to learn. Grades, etc., it doesn't matter that much. So don't worry about that. Just give it your best. I think Vishwadeep would have something to add on to this.
Yeah, so definitely, Richa, you were very right in saying that, yes. So just being an MBBS or a doctor, if you're a practicing clinician, you still have to do a lot of things which are more business oriented as well. So from that perspective, I believe that an MBA from ISB definitely is a huge advantage that you will have. So when you go out in the market and even as a clinician of your own, you have your own setup, or you're working with any other corporate. So the horizons are immense. Then you actually can go and do a lot of things which you would not just do because if you're a plain graduate MBBS only. And not having maths or that I don't see that as a major challenge. Yes, you have people from IITs and others on ISB, or for that matter any other MBA school is known for that. So we as doctors inherently feel that yes, this is a handicap we have, but I don't see it that way. I believe that we can master so many other things, so many complex studies and everything. So then I don't think that maths becomes a big challenge for us. There are certain concepts which we, since we have not been doing those things on a regular basis in our graduation days and all, so that might seem difficult, but a little perseverance and then you should be able to overcome that. And yes, as Richa, you rightly said that so finance is so very important, not just from a business perspective, from industry perspective, it is in general very important for us to know about business, because at some point in time, as a practicing clinician or as a doctor administrator running your own clinic, you're running your own nursing home or hospital, you will need those skills. And ISB is a lot more than that. ISB gives you so much uh, uh, things to do. You can explore things. You can identify a lot of things that you would not have done otherwise. So from that perspective, ISB is a huge opportunity. And the 1 year that you spend here, the networks that you build, the connects you have, the faculty, the exposure is immense. I think so that more than anything else, I believe that the exposure itself is good enough for anyone to go for ISB. And being a doctor it actually is I see it as a positive. You bring in a lot of different perspectives, which if you have 30-40 IITs in a class and then you have only one doctor. So imagine the kind of diversity, you imagine the kind of different perspectives you bring to the class. I think that is where everyone also learns. It's not that you are the only one who's kind of learning from them. So it is the other way around as well. So there are people who will actually learn from your experiences also.
Sure, and I would probably add the other side of the dimension to this, being a non-doctor. You rightly said that, okay, there are a lot of IITians or let's say candidates from a tech background in the batch. But in that case, with an MBBS degree, you are the prized possession for any study group. So whenever you are there in a study group, you will be bringing that diversity in the thought process. So for that matter, like I think I had spent multiple study groups where I had a colonel in my study group, I had a doctor in my study group, and then there was also one in which there was a lawyer who was in my study group. And those are probably the most cherishable moments of study. So don't think that what you're going to compete with, but then I think if you look at it this way, that, okay, what is the gap you're going to fill by being part of the group, you will definitely enjoy the process. And the second thing I think was mostly on the quantitative knowledge part of it, right? So if you see the way the curriculum and the different programs are structured at ISB, right? You look at Max Institute for Healthcare Management, Professor Adam Paul who visits. It teaches how to use technology in the healthcare field. Then there is a program where you'll spend operations management for healthcare establishments. Now, if you look at your regular curriculum, where let's say like you completed your MBBS, you're done doing your postgraduate, your specialization, most of these are basically your domain skills you're going to earn over there. But then to be able to apply that domain skills in your place of work, where you are no longer an IC or individual contributor, but you are leading that space, you would definitely need these augmented skill sets. And I think the PGP program is an opportunity for you to receive those. So think of it that you are getting an opportunity to do a quick, what do you call it, like a 30-minute jump start into finance, then probably another 30-minute jump start into operations management, and then something into IT. Then basically assimilate that along with your strong domain knowledge, you will be standing apart from the rest of your competition when you get into your respective domain field. Thanks.
Thanks, Santosh. Thanks, Richa, and thanks, Sushdeep. And I completely resonate with whatever the alumni have just said while they were answering participants. When it is easy to say that, probably an MBBS would not have as much as a math background as an engineer, be it from IIT or elsewhere. Let me also point out the engineer's perspective, right? I'm an engineer and I did my master's in analytics prior to ISB. So when I have a CA sitting next to me in the class during a finance class, he's obviously going to know more about finance than me, and I am at a disadvantage then. And let's say when we're talking about doctors, they bring in such rich perspective and such rich experience. Like there are people in my class who've worked in emergency rooms, so the people skills are much better than, let's say, people who aren't being put into situations like that. And then each person brings their own diverse skill set. So where you lack, this is the time to build during the ISB. And where you're already good at, you share that knowledge or perspective with your classmates to make everyone's experience richer. With that being said, let's move on to the next question. The next question, I would probably direct it at you, Santosh. Um, so yeah, the next question is like, how do you transition from R&D, biotech, or any other background into healthcare consulting? So probably you come from a non-healthcare background. So would love to get your perspective from that. And if at all there is anything that you can add about R&D, biotech, great. But otherwise, in general, you can.
Sure. So, okay, while I may not be very specific about R&D and biotech part of it, but then I've seen the transition happening through many of my batchmates and the batch following that. One thing is good that, see, consulting for that matter, ISB attracts the top-notch consulting firms into for ELPs, for various engagements, various forums, and eventually for placement, right? You know, I should have used the word placement first, but then yeah, all these engagements and finally a placement is where we see the consulting firms participating. And most of the consulting firms which come to ISB has healthcare as a vertical. Now, somebody who's probably, let's say, into specifically into R&D in a biotech space or in anything which is related to healthcare, the first and foremost step these candidates can take is getting involved into the consulting club and the related activities which are happening targeted towards healthcare, right? So that is giving them a showcase opportunity to indicate or to signal the interest into foraying into the healthcare consulting part of it. Second thing is there are tons of case competitions happen across other universities within companies which are floating case competitions. Participate in those. So it's all about how do you signal your interest and then use the R&D experience as a transferable skill so that you become a potential candidate or an attractive candidate for the inward company. So from, and I think since you mentioned about consulting, yeah, obviously it's going to be a little more competitive because there is the grade, etc. Wise the competition is definitely high when it comes to getting into the top-notch consulting firms. But I think with the R&D background, you will probably be standing out as a diverse candidate who is much more suitable or which is more attractive for a consulting firm to hire over there, right? So in a nutshell, use your current skill sets and try to see where it is fitting into the firm's research area or consulting area, and project that as a transferable skill. Whatever is the gap, use this time to participate in various activities, reaching out to alumni in those firms or in other segments to bridge the gap so that your candidature or your profile becomes more suitable to get into the consulting kind of track. Hope that answers the question.
That does, Santosh. Vishwadeep, can you please share your perspective, and then Richa, please.
Yeah, no, I endorse what Santosh just mentioned. I think, yeah, so see, making the transition from one industry to another industry, I think that's the strength of ISB. ISB allows you to do that. So there are so many opportunities available for you to encash on. So there are so many case competitions. There are so many opportunities that the various clubs offer through which you can kind of start investing in what kind of future you want. But yes, it will require a focused approach, especially someone coming with that niche kind of experience. It is always a positive, and especially with the focus that is there on the healthcare in general as an industry. So there is lot of things that are happening out there. So there is a huge opportunity that can be encashed by the various students that are there. Consulting club definitely is one major area where the students need to be active, to be more participative. The faculty is there, so they can help you and guide you in terms of what are the things that you should be focusing on. The various ELPs that you can do which are on offer through various companies. Those are the opportunities that are there, and then those are the things that the students can focus on to build upon their resumes to be taken up during the placement season for the consulting firms.
So I agree with both Vishwadeep and Santosh. And also one more thing I would like to highlight here, that consulting basically prepares people for a general management sort of roles. So when you are thinking about getting into consulting, see your reasons why you want to do it. What kind of experience do you want to build upon? Because in my opinion, we should always have options. Like only having one approach is not going to help everyone. Every person who comes to ISB doesn't get out as a consultant. While that may sound very shiny and that may be a dream of many, but still always consider options for yourself, that what if I want to get into this, but what are the other options which are going to provide me similar experience, similar career path, etc., and be prepared for that as well. I believe that consulting club, your group discussions, ELPs, etc., they do help a lot. There are a lot of companies like Novartis and J&J who come to campus with the case studies, wherein you can participate along with your peers. So all those kind of options are always open, but always and always have options for yourself. Don't always think that I have only one career path. No two people would have a same career path, and keep it open. You would not have any idea what your career can, where your career can, take you. So always keep it open, and that's my 2 cents on this. Don't think that this is the only thing I can do. You have so many options.
Thanks, Richa. Thanks for that perspective. And whoever was asked this question, just wanted to let you know, like as Richa was mentioning, there are other options too. Like, and if your reasons to get into healthcare consulting is because either you're drawn to strategy or you would like to do different things rather than just one function, chief of staff roles are also something that you could potentially explore. That similarly gives you, the strategy implementation and working on different types of projects at any given point of time, just like consulting would. So moving on to the next question. Vishwadi, this is going to come your way first. Yeah, there are two parts to this question, Vishwadi. The first part probably which I'll answer is like, what boost in salary is to be expected after this program, and how to develop leadership skills that will be helpful for our profiles. So the first question was about salary, and the second part was how to develop leadership skills that will be helpful for the profile. And as far as the salary goes, so without getting into, like this really varies from person to person, context to context, year to year, and the industry conditions. But one thing I would urge the participant who's raised this question to check is ISB has probably one of the highest pre and post MBA salaries in the world, not just in India. And the average salaries and other information is already on the website. So you would benefit by checking out the website for more such details. And especially with the focus on how to develop leadership skills that will be helpful for our profile. Vishwadi, please share your perspective, but feel free to add anything regarding the salary too.
Yeah, so so Neil, you rightly said it. I think so. So ISB does offer a huge kind of impetus if you look at it from a monetary perspective as well. And so personally for me, if I were to kind of comment on that, I would say that I came from the public sector, and then I moved into the corporate sector. So there was a significant change in the salaries that I had pre-ISB and post-ISB. So all I will say is that ISB gives you the best shot at kind of making a transition, so be it from an industry or be it from a function as well. So from that perspective, I feel that the salary is not an issue. And then, as you rightly pointed out, all these details are available on the website as well. The ISB admissions team, of course, do share all these details with the potential candidates as well. So that is about the salary part. The second part, in terms of the leadership qualities, I think, see, if you're coming from a medical background, if you're a clinician or have been practicing, probably you have some of the leadership qualities already with you. Now, what you need to do now at ISB is to hone those skills, because in the industry, post ISB or post MBA, so you are actually going to be leading teams. So that is one of the major things that you're going to do. Those leadership qualities are very, very important. And then to achieve those, like if you're at ISB, so ISB offers a lot of opportunities. So there are so many clubs that are there. There are forums which are there, which kind of help you to gain that leadership qualities, like the healthcare club, for example. So there are so many opportunities that you can do. You can be a part of the club. You can be the president of the club. So there are so many other, the GSBs there where you can kind of take the lead, take the initiatives to be a part of all these clubs and then the student bodies, which kind of help you to gain that critical experience of leadership qualities that are there. In addition to that, so there are we have already talked about the various competitions and other things that happen. So we form a study group, form a case competition group, lead it. So there are so many new things that you can do together, and then that is how you kind of develop those qualities. And along with that, I mean, so ISB also gives you opportunities to think of something new. So you can come up with innovative ideas, you can take it to the faculty where they will be able to help you to grow them further. And along with that, so you can kind of work around those, and then that is how you can help advance your overall skills, so that once you go out in the market, so you get better equipped than your previous.
Thanks, Goel. Richa or Santosh, one of you.
Sure, I can add a couple of things, right? So as Mr. Goel mentioned, so there are umpteen number of opportunities which ISB throws to exhibit your leadership skills, right? You need not fight for the only one or two president, vice president, or club roles. You can still take up various other activities which happen throughout the year at ISB. And like, what will happen? You'll get into that FOMO, right? Oh, I'm not able to get the time to be participating in this event, that event, and all within 3 months of it. So pick a couple of those events where you can actually make meaningful contribution and drive it. So you have leadership summits, right? So there could be a healthcare track into that. If I'm again trying to make it specific to healthcare, but leadership skill can come from any field. Okay, I mean, it can be you can probably form a ELP team, interact with the company, and then execute that project where you're exhibiting your leadership skills in a smaller group. You take up an activity for, let's say, like our leadership summit for ISB or for IDEA or for IKEA, any of these, and then you basically drive one complete vertical over there. That's your opportunity to show your leadership skills. You participate, or you be member of the placement council, talk to companies, help in lining up the profiles, help students build their profiles. You're showing your leadership skills over there. So I would say, like, in a nutshell, ISB probably throws innumerable number of opportunities for you to hone your leadership skills, improve it, and exhibit it. So you can pick and choose what interests you, so that you are providing your 100% into that activity and completing it and learning from it, and not simply like hopping from one to the other. So have those selected few, and then build your skills over that. That can definitely reflect whenever you're talking about those experiences over there, right? So that's probably, I would say, the take on building the leadership skill part of it. And salaries, I think, anyways, you've mentioned over there. We can refer back to the placement reports which are sent out by PAC and which is available on the ISB's portal as well. But yeah, placement, the salary is definitely better on your overall experience, the kind of role you are getting into, whether you are shifting lateral, whether you are getting a level up, etc. The various things which goes in, but then the median salaries are already available on the portal. You can refer to them.
I would just add few points to what Santosh mentioned. First thing, I really liked how he mentioned that it's a lot of opportunities are there. There are not only just one or two positions that you have to actually aim for. And remember, if you are aiming for being president and vice president, then you have to work very, very hard for all the students. You need to understand that time is limited for everyone, and you have to decide for your own whether you want to devote that time running the clubs, etc., because it does take a lot of energy. And understand what is it that you can bring value to. So it's not necessary to be club presidents to just work and network. Okay, you will have a lot of events, and people are busy, right? Not even the club president. They also have to study. They also have their assignments. So they would also want people to run with things. And when you run with those things, you come and connect with a lot of people. Not only from ISB, sometimes you would be organizing, dinners with the upcoming companies to the, to the campus. So a lot of people from industry you would be connecting with, and that is actually something which, is a very exciting place to be in, wherein you are responsible for something very, very, private or intimate to you, and you're running it whole and soul. So those kind of opportunities do exist. Another point on salary is that it's not just the only starting salary that matters. Okay, post ISB, the kind of roles that you can get and the growth that you can have. that would be very, very different. So if you're just looking for starting salary, I would say that's not a right way to look at the salary per se. You need to see that if I do MBA with ISB, what is it that I can get in future as well? Versus if I just do go with plain MBBS or plain MBA from some other places, what is it that my growth trajectory can look like? And then when you compare it, I think you will get your own answers.
Thanks, Alam, for sharing your perspective on that question. So we move on to another placement-related question. I think people get most excited by placements. Richard, this is coming your way first. So what kind of job profiles come at ISB, and does GSK come for placements? For those who are unaware, GSK is a big pharma company. And we, Richard and Alan, we can just make this a general big pharma type of a question rather than being specific to GSK. And followed by which hospitals or healthcare services come to ISB for recruitment, and what roles do they offer? Probably once we get a perspective from our alum, I can just share if there are any trends that have changed in the recent past.
Sure. So first of all, coming to big pharma companies, I would say that a lot of big pharma companies do come to campus. To name a few, it's Pfizer, my own organization. Then you have Novartis, which comes to campus. You have Dr. Reddy's, you have Cipla, you have GSK, Sanofi, okay? All these companies have been coming. Now, I'm not sure whether they are coming on a regular basis, but at least 8 to 10 big pharma companies come to the campus every year for placement. So that is first part of it. The kind of roles that they come up with depends, okay? So some companies come with general management sort of roles wherein they are looking for management trainees or people who don't have experience much, and they can groom them into, an experienced professional. Many of my batchmates took, jobs with Cipla, and currently they are heading their own verticals. So that kind of growth people have got. And when we talk about, the experience through management trainee program, I have seen a lot of people having that kind of fear. Is it something that, do I need to do sales? Do I need to do marketing? I'm not interested in supply chain. Why should I just even be interested in that? So whichever industry that we be part of, in my opinion, we should have the grassroots level experience of that industry. And these kind of roles actually do prepare people for that. But if you are a senior professional, then there are senior roles which also come up through these companies. I cannot give you more details about what kind of roles. I think Neil can throw a lot of light on that. Coming to hospitals, you have your Fortis, Max, Apollos, these kind of big chain hospitals. They do keep coming to campus regularly. Cloud9 comes to campus. A lot of hospitals do come to campus, and you would have an exciting opportunity, not only for the doctors. I believe they take a lot of non-doctors as well. It's not limited to only doctors being in healthcare. I think Santosh can really vouch for it, and we can also really vouch for it. We have people, engineers, finance professionals working in marketing, in sales, etc. So that's really going to be a very comprehensive cohort over there.
I just want to give one example, right? You need not be a healthcare professional only to probably make it big over there. My own batchmate is the CEO of Apollo Hospitals over here. He's a sports person. Okay, not a healthcare professional, not any other, probably say engineering background or anything. He's a pure sports person, but then he used the skill sets obtained at ISB to excel in his position and make that difference so that he could rise to this particular position in such a short span.
Vishwadeep?
Yeah, so I agree with what Richa and Santosh just mentioned. So, a lot of hospitals, a lot of pharma and other companies come to campus. And in fact, so healthcare is not a necessary requirement to be recruited by these companies. So I remember from my batch, so Max, they had 9 people, and only 2 of them were doctors. All the remaining 7 were from the non-medical background. So in fact, including some from core tech side. So they were the ones who were placed with Max hospitals. And then the roles are also very different. So I mean, so yes, there may be some management training roles wherein they groom you for taking up the leadership positions at various levels, depending on the various verticals that the companies have. Along with that, there are some junior level roles as well. So again, that also depends on your past experience, your overall experience, and then things like that. But yes, once you are out of ISB, and what Richa said for the previous question as well, that it's not only about where do you start immediately after ISB, it's also what kind of opportunities will come your way because you are from ISB. I think that is very, very important. So the skills that you develop at ISB, the networks that you have, so that those are going to last with you forever. And then that is where the real essence of an MBA from ISB is. So the sky is the limit once you are out from ISB. And I'm not just saying that just for the sake of promoting ISB, but so we have lived it, and then that's why we are saying this. And huge opportunities for the healthcare sector, and especially in the last 10 years, the advancements in healthcare is so vast. So much has happened in the industry now that the opportunities are immense. So even if you're not from a healthcare background, there are still so many exciting opportunities for you. And more so for people from the industry or those who have some clinical background, be it in terms of medical, be it in terms of research, be it in terms of allied medical professional. So the opportunities are immense. And then if you're able to hone all those existing domain skills with an MBA from ISB, definitely you can get into any kind of industry, any kind of verticals that you want.
Thanks, Alan. So yeah, to just talk about the latest trends, let me just point out, as the Alan said, it is going to be very wide-ranging set of roles, be not just within pharma, but even otherwise. So it can range from anywhere from a startup to a really big multinational company. And the roles are also very diverse. So just to read out a couple of examples, that happened just last year, I would say some of the roles were corporate planning analyst, corporate strategy analyst, operations management analyst, account management analyst, brand strategy analyst, growth manager, strategy consultant within the company. And then there have been roles which are like leadership rotational development programs, where you rotate within the same company in different functions. One day it could be sales, and 6 months later you could be doing operations, and 6 months later you could be doing finance. So that is something that you can explore too. And you probably already see this in the placement report, but some of the companies that came here include Dr. Reddy's lab. We have Merck coming in, Indigene, IQVIA. We have ZS. We have Philips. And then there are Practos, where you get product development or product manager type of roles too. Not specifically in Practo, but yeah, even otherwise in such healthcare product related companies. And then you also, just to call this out, there was one international role that I do remember. I think this was with respect to healthcare operations, maybe Aster. This is what we've had in the recent past. So just wanted to call that out for the benefit of all the attendees.
Yeah. Just want to add few more companies which are health tech companies like Healthify Me. They do come to campus. They are also very, very good opportunity providers. And many alums are actually working with companies like that. We also had, when I was, graduating, Parkway Pentai Group, which is a VC firm, for a lot of healthcare startups and hospitals, they do come to campus. So in my opinion, the companies, the kind of roles that come to campus are really vast and can interest not only healthcare enthusiasts but also other people, whichever background they come up with. So yeah, it kind of gets blurred actually at the end, if I'm not wrong, and maybe Vishwadeep can allude to the same point. It gets blurred, right?
Absolutely, and yeah, so I agree with you, Richa. And as I said, so from our batch, 9 people were recruited by Max Healthcare. Only 2 were from medical background. The rest 7 were totally from a non-healthcare background. And yes, so with all these opportunities that are there today, including the tech side, the new startups, and then even the hospital sector has also grown vastly in the last 10-15 years. So there are a lot of opportunities even for the non-medicals or non-healthcare professionals to go into these roles.
Thanks, Alan. So I think that actually covers multiple questions. There were certain questions which were asking about, what are different career prospects after doing PGP from ISB? Are there any operational excellence roles? And Alan, we have lastly covered this question, but in case you want to add anything regarding operation excellence roles, that would be great. Vishwadeep, do you want to, Santosh, Vishwadeep, any one of you?
Yeah, so there would be opportunities like that. I mean, so if I talk about the hospitals, so a lot of hospitals nowadays are looking for people with those kind of skills. So if you are a medico or if you have some exposure to healthcare and then have a ISB PGP graduation, so definitely it is a huge opportunity that is there. So because today, healthcare is not only about the medicine; it's now actually diversified a lot. So there is so much of digitization, so much of technology that is involved. There is so many strategic things that are part of the healthcare now that it requires multiple and a diverse skill set to be a part of that position. So there are a lot of opportunities. Data is becoming a very, very important tool for hospitals as well. So data analytics, strategic analyst roles, all these things are very, very important nowadays. And there are operational roles as well, so which require a certain kind of skill set, which a PGP definitely offers you those skills. And if you have taken the right kind of courses at ISB as well, so and have maybe taken majors in operations management and everything, so then you're definitely equipped to take up those kind of roles. And similarly, even in pharma and even in the medical devices as well, so there are a lot of opportunities that exist for those kind of roles.
Thanks, Vishwadeep. Anything that you want to add, Santosh and Dr. Richa?
No, I don't think I have enough data to add anything that I will pass it to Dr.
Same. I would just add to Vishwadeep's point. A lot of hospitals and industry, they're basically looking to optimize how they are spending their income. How can they optimize their revenue sources, etc. In recent past, if actually you see, the telehealth medicine, etc., they have picked up a lot of pace. So they do want to see what kind of growth that they can get from that. And when I talk about telehealth medicine, I would just like to, give you two perspective. One is that patient can come in any time and, consult with the doctor, etc. The doctor-patient interaction has improved a lot and increased also a lot. But when you look at from the hospital point of view, they are losing out on the patient's associated revenue. If your patient comes to the hospital, the test, the medicines, etc., they get, sourced from the hospital, and hospital earns revenue out of it. So while health medicine does give them revenue optimization, because a doctor can consult to a lot more patients than what he would do prior to that. So this kind of balance, when it comes into picture, they look forward to solutions, and those kind of solutions are something that they look forward to people like from people like us, so people like you would be providing them those solutions. So those kind of questions would be coming, those kind of positions would be coming, depending on the healthcare landscape that's changing.
Adam, anything that you want to add regarding CRO? I would read CRO to be contract,
research organizations.
So anything that you want to add regarding that?
I don't think, other than IQVA and companies like that, the CRO management positions per se, I'm not sure whether those kind of roles do come in, and what kind of expertise from ISB that they would look forward for. So I don't have any experience in this. Maybe Vishwadeep or Santosh, if they have any experience regarding that, they can mention.
No, even I also believe that not many roles for CRO organizations, unless they are looking for leadership positions, probably that might be the case. But otherwise, people who have had some experience for the prior experience and before coming to ISB, I think for those people, definitely opportunities will be significant. And if you're looking at a transition from a research roles via ISB to a different vertical after your PGP. So those opportunities definitely will be there, especially with the kind of pharma exposure that ISB has as far as placements go. So definitely those will be there. But per se, CRO organizations coming for recruitment from ISB, I also won't have much idea about that.
Probably Ketan can respond to this after the session, maybe to the participants who are in the chat or something after check for the character team on this.
Okay, so for any of the roles, if you're looking at precisely what kind of companies come and what kind of roles they offer, I would suggest all the participants to look at the placement statistics and placement data and the placement report that we have on the website. That will give you a clear picture of the companies coming in and the kind of roles that are being offered. So since the alums are from healthcare, I mean, any of the questions related to healthcare, any of the kind of doubts that you have, whether you are going to be or how you are going to be transforming as a part of PGP, I think this is the right time for you to ask those questions at this point of time.
Thanks, Ketan. Thanks, Alan. And as we move on from that question, something that I want to bring to your attention, participants, is that, see, the biggest strength of ISB is its alum network. And you're seeing it 10 years out again, our alum here. That speaks a lot about the kind of connection that we have and how much they would really want to help ISB and ISBNs. So if at all you're looking for a niche role and you don't see it in the recent past, something of that sort happening, the great way to find such openings for yourselves is to reach out to alum. Look for alum on LinkedIn or in other places who are working in companies of your interest or, something close to that. Reach out to them. And then, normally from my own experience, I've reached out to, if not more than 50, much more than that, at least tens of alums, by now. And most of the alums that I reached out to have given me some response to the other. And if the alum doesn't respond, it is more likely that they're not active on LinkedIn than be it any other reason. So they're definitely going to support you in your, career goals. If you have anything that you could gain from interaction with them or learning about a company, they're always going to do that for you. So this goes beyond, above and beyond whatever you see in the placement records. The placements are obviously going to have the more popular roles where there is, because it's just a function of demand and supply. So my advice would be to also check out LinkedIn and especially use a filter saying ISB in that. This question is going to come your way, Santosh. How has development of health technology helped us OEM, original equipment manufacturer sectors and the pharma sectors? We could make it broader. We could say diagnostics, or we could even say, healthcare sector in general.
Sure, I think probably last couple of years, and especially during the COVID, we have seen technology playing a bigger role in terms of transforming the way healthcare has been perceived or delivered or being utilized, right, by anybody and everybody over there. This, I think, one thing I would like to highlight is that over the period of time, what we are seeing is there is a lot of innovation happening, be it in the counterfeit medicines tracking, be it supply chain optimization, be it demand distribution, demand prediction, all of these, right? And these are very crucial or in the heart of any OEM's space, right? Be it a drug manufacturer, equipment manufacturer, or device placement manufacturer, or an assembler. These are very crucial things which might happen. So there are a lot of startups which are emerging who are purely focused on, let's say, how do I ensure that hospital beds are utilized to the fullest extent? How do I ensure that the three, let's say, like ventilators which are there in the hospital are optimally used so that there is no idle time for those? How can I shift from a owning to a leasing model for my equipment, for my setup, so that I do not, so I can reduce my capex and I can transfer some of this into my OpEx? How can I distribute my load, or how can I optimize my operations so that my staffing and my employee availability is suitable enough to address the peak load during the different time of the day, right? So these are the hundreds of the problems which are being solved nowadays with the customer. So apart from probably, let's say, like all the compliance or practice or pharmacies, netmeds we are hearing, there's actually a lot of innovation happening on the other side of the world, right? and which unfortunately doesn't have a direct consumer-facing model, and that's why probably most people are not listening or hearing about them. But at least during COVID time, I've been able to talk to many of the founders who have built devices for remote patient monitoring, who have used technology to assemble gadgets, which is now at least reducing the need of having a 24/7 nurse being stationing or manning a station to monitor progressive health parameters of a patient. So these are various things which are happening in this segment, right? And this, I would probably say, is kind of a inflection point where a healthcare background, a non-healthcare background, a technology background, and a non-technology background is going to slowly blur, where for every industry, technology is becoming an enabler, and then you can basically utilize your domain skill to use the technology to apply it in your respective space, right? So I've seen a lot of doctors taking up analytics courses. A lot of doctors are getting interested in robotics related curriculum. In fact, I think one of my batchmate was a doctor who eventually became a product manager at Amazon in some of the healthcare related work which is being done over there. So I would say like opportunities are huge, and it is purely on us that how do we want to shape our career by utilizing the avenues which is opened up by enrolling into the program or by interacting with our peers over here.
Thanks, Santosh. Thanks a lot for that. Richa, Goel, anything that you both want to add?
I have one thing to add over here. So I believe that COVID actually led a lot of technology shift in the entire space. So, you know, how we had those systems wherein you would know which hospital the bed is available, etc. Those kind of things are not needed only for COVID. Those kind of, you know, information is needed for anyone, anytime, that if I'm taking my, you know, emergency patient to XYZ hospital, whether the ICU bed is available or not, ventilator is there or not, support, whichever support I do need, that kind of support is there or not. So I think a lot of technology advancements have happened. And once you get a taste of technology, you just can't go back. So I believe this is going to continue further and further. Hospitals do look forward to, you know, improve their pharmacy experiences as well. How much of the inventory should I keep, so that I don't exhaust the stock as well, and I don't overpay for the stocks to keep for 3 months in advance. So those kind of questions, as I mentioned, I think in my previous answer also, that these kind of queries and questions will continue to come up. And when the questions come up, the answers, the companies, the hospitals, they try to find it in people like us.
Yeah. So to add to what Santosh and Richa already said, yes, and so technology is a big disruptor, especially in the healthcare sector now. So while we have seen so much of things happening in various other fields, so e-commerce and everything, so it has been growing like anything. But healthcare in general was slightly sluggish in adopting technology, and COVID was actually a watershed moment for the healthcare sector. I mean, the kind of push that the sector has got in terms of technology adoption is very, very high at the moment. And so much of work is happening in terms of artificial intelligence, machine learning, use of robotics, not only from a SCM perspective, from supply chain logistics, even on the clinical side as well. So the adoption is becoming much easier. Teleradiology, telepharmacy, so many things are happening, and all these things are being driven by tech tech people. I mean, it's not only the doctors who are driving, it's not only the healthcare professionals who are driving this change. It's the technology experts who are actually driving this whole change. So it is the amalgamation of the technology with the domain experience that people have. So the healthcare professionals are now actually coming out with their demand of what is the solution that they need, and then technology is now helping them to kind of get those solutions. And that is where the ISB will come into play, wherein you can actually kind of understand what is it that is happening around the world, what is happening in the industry, and the kind of exposure you have to the industry, to the faculty, to the operations management, to the supply chain management, to the various strategic aspects that are there for all these things, so that the experience is overall holistic and comprehensive, which kind of helps you to be more ready for any kind of these roles that may come from.
Thanks, Vishwadeep. Thanks, Richa. Thanks, Santosh. Um, Moving on to the next question. So, Alan, this is going to be regarding the healthcare club. I'm not too sure if the club was an SIP during your years, but if it is, please share what any activities that you took up, if at all you were part of this healthcare SIG or club. I'm going to also share what we currently do. So the question is, what are various activities carried out by the healthcare club? Are there any health tech startups currently incubated? So participants, I'm the current healthcare club president, and so I can share what we're currently doing so that you get the most recent perspective, what's been happening. So there are a lot of activities that we do. So just to give you an overview of things, our L&D, that is basically the learning and department team within the core of the healthcare club. Um, they come up with something like industry bites where they give you tidbits about a particular industry, different sectors from consulting to pharma to product, healthcare products to other places. And then we do P2P sessions. Don't forget your ISB classmates bring very rich industry experience themselves. So each person shares their own knowledge about what they previously did and what their experience has been. This is going to give a deep insight into maybe your area of interest that you want to do post ISB. And the other thing that we do is we just give broad sector level deep dives. We recently did that for pharma, where we talk about what are the various opportunities, like what does it entail, and what are the current industry situation and various such things. So this is under the L&D buckets, and then the alumni relations bucket. We map. This is work in progress. A couple of these things are still work in progress, participants. So yeah, we map based on your interests, like we map the club members to their maybe alum who are working in that particular field that they would love to get into post ISB, so that they get more perspective, they understand the industry better, and then they develop their network. And other activities that we do is, like, of course, talks. We have alums like this who's sitting with us currently, contributing to our understanding of things. We recently had McKinsey consultant who graduated as recently as 1 year ago, come talk to us about consulting. And then we are in talks with others, to bring people from pharma sector, medical devices sector, and there's a doctor potentially who's coming up. Uh, uh, so we do talks from people from the industry like that. And then there are a couple of other things that we do too. So recently, our club went to a trek, which went really well to G and Siemens, and this was for the medical device space. And then there's something that we are planning to do in Hyderabad soon. This is something that we did this year. And then again, case comms, there's going to be support. We're going to try to source in. And these things vary a lot year to year based on what the club interests are, what the members want, and what kind of contacts you have. So case comms have been and other things, healthcare related case comms. There are plans afoot to do healthcare related hackathon type of an event or a case comp again during Advaita. And then interactions with AMPH. AMPH is another great program. Please do explore that. It consists of senior doctors. It's not a PGP, but it is more like a place where a lot of healthcare and business meets. So networking with them, facilitating those kind of things, again facilitating different activities with different departments of ISB, be it the iVentures. Like what iVentures does is like probably bring in a lot of startups. They would require business support, and we recently took up one project for iVentures where a couple of ISB students come together, and this has been filled up with only healthcare club members. Not that it wasn't open to others, but it was like, the first opportunity was given to a healthcare club. So we're working on how to potentially build a go-to market strategy for cancer testing. So that is how much I can talk about that. So there are a lot of such things that are happening. It changes year to year.
Neil, I would also like to share one thing.
Yes, please.
So at my time in ISB, we did have a healthcare club, and what we did differently was that we mapped each and every healthcare club member, like what has been their experience and what would be the experience that they would want post ISB. And that actually helped us, that mapping helped us to understand the kind of roles that we wanted to come to the campus. And that's going to be important for people like for this batch and people coming in next batch also. Because with that kind of profiling that we did for healthcare club members, we reached out to SEAL to tell them that this is what we want from the companies coming on campus. And if you are planning, please do let us know. If you have not planned, if you don't foresee, let us reach out to them so that they do come on campus, and every one of us can get the kind of roles that we are looking forward for. So those kind of things do really help when you come from a particular club and when you talk that you are a niche club,
Absolutely, Risha. Yeah, and that was something that I forgot to add. Thanks for bringing your attention. Yes, so that is planned to come up this month sometime, participants. So, what Risha just called out. So yeah, these are some activities that we currently took up from the healthcare club side, and for as far as the healthcare tech startups that are being incubated, please do check out the ISB iVentures page. I would urge you to do that because that is going to be this place where you want to look for incubation, acceleration of startups and various such things. It is going to go beyond ISB. It incubates other startups too. And yeah, definitely check that out. You'll get more.
I think if I can add, like remember TikTok 2 is one of venture by one of the alumni which is incubated over there, and I think Vitria is one more. So not only being incubated, but I think iVenture definitely provides a lot of mentoring for ideas and then probably connecting them with potential co-founders, getting the startups to get the early funding. So there's a lot of support which is over there. So if you have any aspirations of building a healthcare startup, I think you'll get sufficient support from iVenture and ISP Alumni Network.
Thanks for that, Santosh. Vishwadeep, Richa, Santosh, anything that you want to add in general about the healthcare club activities or anything from your time?
So I would say, yeah. So healthcare club has been one of the major clubs, I would say, at ISB, and so a lot of interest, lot of participation has always been there. Not only from people who come with the healthcare experience, but with people who actually want to understand healthcare as well. So a lot of people with no relationship in the past or the previous to coming to ISB. So they are also been interested even in our times as well. So that was like quite some time back as well. So a lot of interest, and then one primary reason is because of so much of opportunities that exist in the healthcare space. And so, I mean, the activities that you mentioned, Neil, I think these are the routine activities that are being done by the clubs. When every year the club presidents, they bring in new innovative ideas and then they try to do things differently. So I think that has kind of helped the club also to grow. And then that's how the club members have kind of been going to various places. They have been now placed in various companies at various high positions as well. So I think so that is the strength that the club brings in, and the club activities are it's kind of a platform that you have, not only to kind of learn from each other's experiences, but also showcase what is it that you bring to the table. And as Richa also mentioned, that it also gives the opportunity for the school to kind of go out to the industry as well, to get those kind of companies to come on for the placement as well. Or at least if they're not coming, at least then the alums can be reached out, or the club can directly reach out to those companies as well. So a lot of effort is put in by the HCC and the other clubs as well for their respective members, to help them to reach their respective goals that they have in their mind when they come to ISP.
Thanks, Vishwadeep. Santosh, Richa, anything?
I have already said enough, I guess. Networking dinners are a big part of it. So the companies do come on campus if you are part of the particular club, and the companies, they have the similar interest or they come from the same background like pharmaceuticals, etc. So you be part of those clubs, you kind of go out with people from industry and you kind of learn from those experiences, build connections and networks in the process.
So unfortunately, I was not part of the healthcare club because I was actually the president for one of the other clubs, senior executive club at ISB, which basically required 100% commitment over there. But one thing I would like to say is that where we benefited most was in terms of conducting the events within the clubs itself. So most of the times what happens is you're looking for some knowledge. You need not look outside of ISB. You can actually find a lot of knowledge within ISB. So we had a couple of members in our club who were trying to explore various administrative this thing. So it's basically ex-defense personnel who are trying to look for opportunities in the hospital administration side of things, right? And then we reached out to the healthcare club, where we had actually a couple of folks who were coming from hospital engagement. One of them was actually running a hospital, likewise. So that kind of a knowledge sharing helped in terms of grooming the profile a lot. And that I would say is that I found that to be one of the most active clubs with students being open to devote time and come out to help in peer learning, etc. So I would say that definitely one of the most active clubs on the campus. And yeah, I think the amount of knowledge among the students is definitely, doctors are definitely always the high IQ people, right? And then if you have a bunch of them clubbed over them, then you have a core. So
thanks, Alan. So moving on to the next question, team. Before we move on, one more point that I would love to add is that participants, these clubs don't also function in isolation. I think that's been a broad point that our Alan tried to bring out. So be it SEC or be it BTC, which is like Business Technology Club, which is got to do with product development, product management, or Business Analytics Club, or consulting or marketing, we all collaborate among ourselves based on the function that you want to get into or industry that you want to get into. So these exchanges do happen very, very frequently. Yeah, moving on to the next question. Probably this is a very profile specific question, Richa, but then this could be considered a little broader too. If you consider the doctors, we'll direct this at you. Will it be better to join the program after PG course, or should I apply after MBBS, right after MBBS? To the participant who asked this question, please be conscious that ISB, unlike most other MBA schools in India, requires work experience. But with that being said, yeah, we'll let Risha answer it for you.
Okay. So it completely depends on, people, basically. It is not a given that you need to complete an MD and then come to the campus. And it's not something that you can just not do it just after MBBS. As Neil mentioned, yes, you need to have the relevant work experience. With having an MD, you might have some experience of MD itself. You would also probably give some time to industry, be it pharmaceutical or hospitals, etc., which will give you some understanding why you want to do MBA. I don't believe that just after MBBS our minds are so matured that we can understand, oh, you know what, I want to do MBA because I just want to be a hospital administrator, or I want to get into product marketing in a pharmaceutical industry. How do you know what does it entail until unless you have seen that, how these companies work, wherein your interest lies. So if you want to do an MBA just after MBBS, my suggestion would be get into the industry first, get that relevant experience, understand what you would like to do post ISB, because you don't want to be lost. You actually want to give a direction to your career through ISB, and that can only happen if you actually have had that experience. So MD and no MD doesn't matter that much as it matters the kind of function or kind of place that you would like to be in. After MBBS, in my opinion, there are very less pharmaceutical companies wherein you would go as a medical advisor also. In most of the pharmaceutical companies in today's India, MD pharmacology or MD medicine or other MDs are preferred in medical advisor positions, which are the starting level position for medical graduates in pharmaceutical industry. So if as a doctor, I do not know what pharma industry looks like, the kind of experience, on that side of the table, you're a doctor. And when you have to talk to a doctor and he's your customer, the experience is widely different. And if you cannot understand that and you just want to jump in, it's not going to give you enough and more. So you may get that experience by after PG, but you need to still get that experience via working. So hospital is, whether it is your love, or pharmaceutical, whether that is your love, whichever it is, you try and get into industry first and then move on to MBA. That's what my 2 cents is.
Thanks, Richa. Santosh, go.
I'd like to add one thing over here. Okay, while I totally agree to what Dr. Richa mentioned, that been there, done that, or having seen the world and then coming to learn from peers is definitely the best way to go. However, having said that, of late, I think it's almost 5 to 7 years now where ISB is also giving opportunities for something known as YLP, which is a Young Leaders Program. This is mostly applicable for students who are graduating now. You get an admission, which is kind of a deferred admission. And then you, once you get an admission, you actually go and still work for a couple of years in the industry and then come back to complete the course, right? So that is one of the ways. Which what I don't clearly know, and I think the admission committee can answer that, is whether MBBS is also one of the streams through which we take YLP candidates. If not, the question asked by the candidate can himself or herself go to the YLP page to see the eligibility criteria. So for overall ISPS admission, like graduation is one of the basic criteria. So MBBS definitely you're putting a check mark over there. But let's say like you have that enlightenment that, okay, MBBS, and then probably I want to set up a orthopedic hospital, then definitely you know that post MBBS you have to do a PG. And then you need to know how to set up a business, run a business, how to manage my P&L, how to build a team, how to grow a team. Then definitely take the path as you have figured it out, right? Okay, definitely you need an MBBS, you need a specialization study, and then you need a PGP or MBA to take it up. What I think, again, a logical is that MBBS and then probably a PGP and then trying to do your master's might not be a very relevant route to take. But again, all of you are mature enough to make the transition related decisions. That is my perception of the career path which you are chatting about over here. But I strongly encourage you to look at the YLP program to see if you can secure an admission, go and work for something which could be a hospital, could be your own practice, could be anything, which as Dr. Richa mentioned, and then continue with the rest of the program over here.
Just to add to Santosh's point, I think YLP is definitely a very good opportunity that ISB provides to young aspirants. Also, when you look at jobs post ISBs, companies do look forward to the experience you bring to the table. So if you come up only with a degree and a PGP degree post that, suppose you get an admission by any chance, and you just come with that kind of, bookish experience, who is it that, gonna put the bet on you that, okay, fine, you don't have any experience either. It can be a general management role, the management training experience that we discussed about. But if you have a particular direction set in your mind, then you probably need to have little bit experience so that you can showcase that, hey, I know this XYZ thing. I have done these degrees, I have these courses and experiences with me, and this is how I'm going to be fit for this particular role. So please consider that while you are thinking like this.
Vishwadeep, anything?
Yeah, I think so. Rich and Santosh has already covered it. All I will just want to add here is, I mean, whether you're coming after MBBS or your MD or even after DM, so it's not that the degree alone it matters. So what really matters is where do you want to be after ISB? I think that's the most important question an aspirant should be asking themselves. What is it that they would want to do, and how do they see ISB helping them achieve that particular goal? I think that's the most important aspect that people have to look at. Once you know that, then of course, then you work towards that. Then you have to build your profile according to that. So the pre-ISB thing as well. So and then only come to ISB. So that is my take on it. But otherwise, we had people who had only been MBBS or people who had done their MD, and then people with the DM as well coming to ISB doing their regular 1-year PGP program and then going and kind of working in the industry. So it's not really important that what time you want to come in. What is important is that where do you want to go after ISB? That is where what is going to be really important.
Got it.
Just quickly looking at all the questions which are posted. I know we are running short of time. So what I would suggest is I can see there's a lot of questions on eligibility of a profile for admission. What I would encourage all the question, like all the folks who have posted the question, is that you can actually get in touch with the admission committee for a one-on-one time, or the best is that if you have a profile, find an alum from the entire student pool which is available, I think mostly with the ISB portal, and talk to them about the eligibility part of it. But some of the basic questions about whether you are eligible to apply or not, I think the admissions committee would be able to answer those. So I would encourage you to strongly encourage you to reach out to the admissions committee and then get those questions answered. I think that will cover almost 10 of the pending questions on the Q&A.
Sure, absolutely. In fact,
This is operations excellence, huh, Santosh?
sure. And very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any admissions related questions, post the panel discussion with alums, we will take a half-an-hour Q&A, and we'll exactly try and cover and address all of these queries that you may have. So for now, you can just post all your questions to the alums, and then after 8:30, the admissions team is here. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll take all of those questions. So yeah, over to you. Back to you, alums. Thank you.
Thanks, Richa. So yeah, as mentioned, team, there are probably certain notions regarding reserved for healthcare professionals or anything like that. But while I would like to say it doesn't really work that way, I would still encourage you to stay back, as Richa from admissions was pointing out, to stay back and discuss and get those things clarified. We'll focus on two very important questions for the moment. One question, probably, this coming from who's not from a heart healthcare background, but from somewhere from a wellness background, I would guess, Alam. So the question goes like this: how can a PGP add value to a nutritionist who had already completed master's degree in nutrition? Being a yoga instructor, how does this course help? I would modify this question to be answering something which is more broader. Like, let's say somebody is not from not a doctor, or let's say from the clinical background. If they're from the soft healthcare background, let's say wellness industry, how does PGP help them grow, or how would it benefit them more broadly rather than making it so specific to nutrition alone?
Sure, I think I can take a first stab on it, but just for my interest. So if you look at a journey, right, for a treatment, like look at the case of a patient, how much time does the patient really spend with it? It's a fraction, but then there are so many actors in the entire healthcare ecosystem which is actually impacting the entire treatment regimen, right? So for me, I think a healthcare domain is anybody who is involved in a patient's journey from an entry to an exit to the healing point, right? So for that matter, if your background or if your education background is anything which is related to bring in efficiency in this entire cycle, I would probably still term you as a healthcare professional. I mean, I think that's what we have tried to do during the entire COVID, where all the COVID warriors were, in fact, all the way starting from the supply wala to the nurse to the ER workers to even the ambulance drivers, all of them were labeled as healthcare professionals at that point of time, right? So don't hesitate or don't be shy of probably projecting your profile as a healthcare domain profile or a healthcare professional if you're not a doctor. No. And especially for this particular question about the nutritionist, I think I saw that question on that, is that, first of all, let's ask like why you need a PGP. Okay, the question probably, let's flip that, saying, okay, how does PGP help a master's or a degree in nutritionist or whatnot? But let's see, like, why would you need a PGP? If you're a nutrition and you've done a master's, where do you see the PGP program to help you? I mean, I'll probably say that, okay, PGP is the big buffet lunch which I encounter when I get to a star hotel or get to a nice place. But then I pick the items which interest me more, which is basically suiting my taste buds and from which I'm going to derive the best out of the money which I'm paying for the buffet, right? So ISB's education or the PGP is such a widespread bouquet of knowledge that you put yourself as a candidate and then see like what are the gaps in your profile between whatever you've learned to where you want to be, and how can you use this opportunity to learn and bridge those gaps to reach them. So that question should be answered by yourself when you try to do a study of all the options available, all the courses available, all the professors who are visiting here, all the clubs, all the alumni who have come out of the program. If you do a diligent study of all of these, I think most part of your question would be answered, that why PGP is going to help you at this stage of your career. Over to the other alumni to add.
Yeah. So to add to what Santosh just said, what I would say is that see, wellness is a huge industry. As he rightly said, you being in the hospital is just one small aspect of it. There's a huge spectrum of healthcare opportunities that exist. And while you have to answer for yourself, why do you want a PGP? At the same time, it's not only that the opportunities are not there. I mean, there is so much of innovation that is happening in the wellness space as well. There are so many digital and new startups coming into that wellness space. So how do we ensure that people have that continuum of care which is beyond the hospital as well? So it's not that if you are only coming from a nutritional background, or you have been into the yoga industry or anything else, that there are not enough opportunities that will exist in the industry. So the healthcare industry is growing at an immense pace in India today. And technology is playing a major role in that. Then technology does not differentiate whether you are a doctor, or you are a nutritionist, or a yoga instructor, or you're coming from the pharma industry, you're from the biotechnology, biomedical engineering, wherever. There are immense opportunities that exist in the industry today. It's all about finding that right mix for you. What is it that you want to do? How do you use your domain skills, add it with the ISB PGP that you have, and then go to the next level in your careers? I think that's what really should be the focus that you should be having, the questions that you should be asking, and then that is where ISB probably can come and help you hone those skills, and then you can move ahead in your career.
Thanks, Alan. So this is going to be an admissions related question, but a very valid question for the Alan to discuss. Probably quite critical too. So how important is it to prepare for essay? And it also asks for your interview experience, and like what you can really do well for your interview. And with the focus on healthcare, the kind of backgrounds that healthcare people come from, what kind of suggestions would you have? What kind of, advice would you give someone to be successful in this journey?
Let me start. I will have just very few points regarding this. When it comes to your profile, first be true to your resume. Okay. There are a lot of ways wherein people do say things in their resume, wherein the experiences that you mention, when ISB alumni, they do interview you, they kind of try to find that relevance, because if your profile gets picked for the interview, this is something that we would all focus upon, that the kind of experience that you are mentioning, whether you relate to it, how much do you relate to it, and what kind of balance or what kind of new insights you are getting to the batch of ISB. So that is one thing that I would say is important. Your essay also reflects the same. So essays are very relevant, but that's not something that that's kind of a pre-screening criteria, I would say, before you get into the interview round. So essays are important from that point of view, but ultimately what matters in the ISB interview, or for any alumni who is interviewing the further students, is what do you bring to the table, what is mentioned in your resume, your work experience, etc. And when you speak about it, the passion, the kind of knowledge that you get with it, I think that really matters. And please work upon that. Please work upon your resume in such a manner that it speaks for itself. And when you speak about it, you can actually tell me, that what is it that's there.
Sure, I can go next. For me, I mean, your essay is nothing but the trailer you're making for your movie. So that is the only interface through which we can know a little bit about you before we call you to on campus for an interview. So essays are absolutely important. You should be spending 95% of your time in honing what you are going to write over there. I think we'll take hundreds of iterations for bringing it to the optimal size. What will the biggest challenge is you have to limit your years of experience into several hundred words, right? So that's where the entire differentiation which comes, right? So if you have to basically pick those few profiles from the thousands of applications which ISB receives, then your essay should make you stand out, because scores, resume are one of the indicators, but then essay is definitely one of the topmost indicators, right? And essay is the only place where you can actually talk about what you bring to the table, what you aspire to gather while you are here, and then how you want to apply it when you go out. So that's the transition which will be apparent. And as like any top B school, I think ISB is also very selective about whether a seat in the PGP is actually going to make justice for your aspirations or not, right? It is not only how the program is going to benefit you, also how your candidature is also going to benefit the school and the peers. So both of these are evaluated. Hence, the essay is your place where you also have to be vocal about what you bring onto the table and not only what you can take from getting a seat into the PGP. So hence, prepare a lot. And I would say, like, as Richa also mentioned, that be truthful of what you are putting it over there, because you have to stand your ground what is being written in the essay. And as alumni and the admissions committee, when we review this and when we call you for the interview, when we interview you, we just want to evaluate, or we want to see a little more about what you have mentioned in the essay. So hence, be truthful about that part of it. I think it also follows, the question was also on the process of the interview, am I right?
That's right, Santosh.
Right. So I think the process is pretty straightforward thing. It is also mentioned in the admissions process part of it. And you prepare your essay, that the questions are already out, and then you basically write your essay. Once you feel that you're ready with your responses, you upload all the documents, and then your score, your references. All of these are collectively evaluated, and then shortlist happens. Based on the shortlist, candidates are called for on-campus interviews. In fact, it was happening virtual till some time. I'm not sure whether it is happening in person this year or not, but eventually you'll be meeting a panel of interviewers, and most of the times the panel actually constitutes of various alumni and some members of the admissions committee. We will be evaluating based on the responses you provide in the essay, and then all of us would be providing our feedback, and all this collective feedbacks goes back to find out whether you're a fit for the course or not. So that's in a nutshell the entire interview process or the process of selection. Yeah, you should go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's the most of the points are already covered. So yeah, and then as both Richa and Santosh have already pointed out, I think the essays are very, very crucial, and they play a very important role in terms of getting a shortlist, because that's the only way that you can kind of differentiate among all the other candidates. Because see, everyone who's applying to ISB, they are cut above the rest. So I think so that's very important. The competition is intense there. So what will really stand out is your essays. So that will give us a glimpse into what you have been doing in the past and what you're planning to do post ISB. And yes, it's not only about what is that ISB is going to do for you. It is also about what you will bring to the table for ISB. What is it that you will contribute to the class as well? So those things are very, very important. So being truthful and honest in your essays is very, very important. If you're planning or if you're trying to fudge any numbers or anything, be sure that the people are going to catch it. So then it's not really worth it, guys. I can assure you of that. So be truthful in whatever you have been doing. I mean, small little things can be of very, very significant importance for the admissions committee. It's not that what you may consider as that it may not be enough, so may actually not be the case. So don't worry. Whatever you have done, so if you are passionate about anything, any hobbies, any social work, any community service, anything that you have done, it may still be of some relevance to the admissions committee. So ISB doesn't go only by scores that you have in your GMAT or only the big numbers that you have on your resume in terms of the conversions, in terms of the revenues you may have done. It's all about what is it that really you are really passionate about. If you're passionate about something, if you have done it very well in your life, and then if you want to carry it further, so ISB is the place for you. And interviews again, yeah, it's going to be very intense. The alums, the admission committee members who are there in the interview panel, they will actually grill you through your resume, through your essays, and it's going to be a conversation which is going to be intense in that way. So, but in the end, I think the experience itself is a huge learning for everyone. So the learning that you have while you're doing your essays, I mean, it can be eye-opener for you as an individual as well. So it give you real insights into what you really want to do in your life as well. And I think that experience in itself is good enough. And I'm sure if you have done well in terms of doing your research and putting your heart into your essays, I'm sure that you will make the cut for the interviews.
Thanks, Vishwadeep, for that. So, Alan, that has been mostly it, apart from the other, um, admissions related questions, which we can potentially take up a little bit later, right after. But with it being said, it was lovely to have you all with us. And, your responses definitely, I'm sure, would have helped all the participants. But going beyond that, like, it was great to know your perspective. It helped me too personally. And it's going to help me, it's definitely going to help shape the rest of the months that I have here at ISB. Thank you for taking your time out. We do know that you're very busy, but at the same time, we also know you love ISB. So thanks for giving us your time. Thanks for sharing all the perspective and the rich experience you developed over the years.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Neil. Thanks everyone at ISB. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alan. It truly means a lot on behalf of everybody present here. Definitely thank you for taking out time on a Wednesday evening. Very insightful session. Thank you once again. And thank you, Neil, for moderating it wonderfully and beautifully right out of your class. So thank you again. A big shout out to you too.
Thanks, Richa. And Richa, I can potentially stay back and support with a couple of other remaining questions.
Sure, great. Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Everything, you can stop the recording because we now take up the questions. So you can stop.